Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a very special guest for you tonight. Michael Cavanagh joins the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming on, Mike.
Thank you for having me on again. Last time I was on was nearly a year ago.
Very good. Very good. Good time to have you back.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. You are here on episode 94 to talk all about the Game Awards. Game Awards happened last week. We all got together in Discord to watch it. And that's what's going to be our episode is going to be about. In the news, we're going to talk about some Bad Robot opening up a game studio.
JJ.
Some NPD numbers, as well as Funimation releasing an anime app on the Nintendo Switch. And also the big thing happened. It's called Indie World. There's a showcase that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Day of this recording.
Hell yeah.
What great timing. Before we get started, how's everyone doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm
great. Dude. Having a decently good week. Feeling the cooped up nature of the pandemic this past week. Probably not exercising as much as I need to. Looking a little bit too much at some screens, but hey, I'm staying safe.
Getting outside is helpful too, but
I need to do that.
It has been kind of crummy weather here with drizzling and raining and
cold,
cloudy and
been
cold.
legitimately cold.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was good, or maybe it was Sunday. I was going to take a bike ride because I went out in the afternoon. It was like 72 degrees or like 69 or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I kind of forgot for a second and then came out an hour later and it was like 40 degrees. I was like, what just happened? Anyway, that's where we're at on the podcast. We're just talking about the weather for the past week.
It's like a bad first date.
Okay, so we'll move on then. A couple shout outs. Last week we talked about Fire Emblem, which sparked a really wonderful discussion in our Discord. You should come join our Discord if you want to talk Fire Emblem. We got a lot of Fire Emblem heads.
Totally.
Summer, Emma, Austin, some other folks too, DCD, Jay, and some other folks chimed in as well. But that was a fun conversation.
A lively conversation with liberal use of the spoiler tag, so that's appreciated for all those who haven't beaten Fire Emblem Three Houses
despite the fact it's been out for quite some time now. So
hey, people get mad when you spoil Citizen Kane.
Which we will now do.
And
go watch Mank.
and Matt, you had a specific somebody you wanted to shout out from the Discord too, right?
I just wanted to say also for the Fire Emblem talk, the spoiler tags were protecting my dainty eyes, and I appreciate that. Respect all of you.
Looked like a dossier from Control.
It's great. Beautiful text. Shout out to Steve Irwin, who a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about Age of Calamity, I was like, yo, let's talk spoilers. And so him and I talked about our favorite characters, as well as some of our thoughts about how the story unfolded.
Nice. Also, a couple people commented on our Facebook episode post. Carrie Chandler said they need to get back to Three Houses, and Derek Kopswa made a nice Fire Emblem joke about moving on from the death of a loved one being liberating, because I think Austin said that on the episode. And one last shout out to on Twitter to, and I probably am going to butcher this pronunciation. You message me and let me know. Karuseta is a Metroidvania is their name on Twitter. They I've been talking to them a lot lately on Twitter. I don't think any of us saw that Sephiroth announcement coming, which we will get into later. And I certainly didn't.
Amazing.
I think I love, my favorite ones are when no one guesses what the character is going to be. Yeah.
Yes. But we'd love to hear from you, listener. We'd also love it if you gave us a review or shared our podcast somewhere online. We always appreciate that kind of stuff. And with that, unless there's anything else, we will get into news and rumors for the week. We got a lot of it. Like Matt said, today, the day we're recording this on December 15th, there was a big Indie World showcase. And that's one of the big news items here. So we'll start with that. A lot of games, a lot of cool looking indie games in this. We can talk about whatever else you want, but I kind of, they opened with a big one, they ended with a big one, a couple big ones in the middle, but Spelunky Spelunky 2 were the openers. I know, David, you're a big Spelunky person.
That was actually kind of embarrassing for me because I work from home and I had the video up on my computer and I started it, and as soon as the little infinity sign showed up and there was like a little tone of music in the background, I like paused the video and just gasped really loud. and I was like, and Sasha was like, did somebody die? And I was like, no. And I just started like jumping up and down for joy. It was frightening. And it shows where my excitement lies these days, but very excited to finally see the Spelunky franchise making its way to the Switch, both 1 and 2.
It's cool they're putting both out.
Yeah,
they're coming in the summer, as I believe it, right? Next summer.
Yeah,
which is a little ways away, but not too long.
Too far away. It's too far.
It's too far.
I wish I really wish that they put out 1 now and then 2 over the summer.
Yeah,
but I imagine they're still porting both, or there's some sort of handheld exclusivity that Sony had with the Vita or something like that, and it's going up in the summer.
It's gotta be.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but either way, it's good that they'll both be there. If you're wondering, like, do I need to play the first one to play the second? You don't. You could really play either. Spelunky 2 just kind of expands on Spelunky 1. It is probably more difficult, but you could really get either and be happy. I personally will be rebuying both.
And there were a lot of other announcements. We can go over them here in a minute, but these are what I sort of saw as the big ones. Y'all jump in and what have you. But Grindstone was a really big game last year, sort of a puzzle game. It was on Apple Arcade and is now available on the Switch today. And I think they're charging $20 for it, but $15 right now. So I don't know. I remember hearing a lot about that game.
Yeah, I'll be picking that up at some point for sure.
A game that I was interested in by this, and also had heard about before, Nausea.
I think it's Gnosia.
Yeah, I was thinking like Gnostic is how you say it, but
yeah,
but it's Japanese. So who knows?
They had the goo symbol at the beginning of the word.
Oh, look at who knows their Japanese symbol.
Took a year and a half of Japanese in college because Spanish classes were full.
Fair enough.
Well, this game
could have used one more than I used Japanese, but that's
it's a Japanese indie game that reviewed really well, and it's kind of a werewolf-like game as well, I think, but you play against AI where somebody is a imposter, for lack of a better word, and that kind of thing. Which leads us to the other huge announcement here, which was Among Us was the ending closing bit of this, which is also available now.
I already bought it. I immediately was like, yes, for $5 and crossplay, buying that.
Which we will talk about more later because of the awards it won and that kind of thing too. But
totally.
Big game recently. Even though it came out a couple of years ago, it's just been making the rounds. And there were other announcements. Anything in this, either on games we just talked about or games we didn't talk about that y'all want to bring up? Anything catch your eye or jump out at you?
Yeah, Yacht Club Games released more footage of Cyber Shadow. That looks tight.
It does.
Just listening to the music just made me nostalgic. Like
totally.
I was working while I was watching Indie World, and just the music alone, I was like, what is this game? I want to play this game.
Yeah, it's like it goes into the side-scrolling ninja / samurai indie games that have been on the Switch recently. Like, I feel like in my mind, The Messenger, Cyber Shadow, and Katana Zero all kind of flow together. You know what I mean? But they're all very different styles of games,
totally
beyond the aesthetics of the game. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. It was nice to see a good chunk of the direct dedicated to Calico, game that we saw at PAX South and got to meet some of the people behind that game. That looks delightful. It's just like a thick lady cat cafe simulator. So that looks like a lot of fun. And I thought overall it was a really good show.
The Peruvian game looked interesting too. I think, Matt, you were interested in that one too. Tunche,
Tunche,
sort of Amazon brawler or whatever that was.
It's like a brawler beat 'em up with what's the woman character? Hat of Time.
Hat and Time Girl.
Yeah,
Hat Girl.
Is it Hat Girl?
I think
it seems like that had some like weird progression or like RPG elements in it as well. It looks like a really nice game with a good aesthetic.
Yeah. Alba also generated a lot of talk on our Discord, which was sort of like a environmental activist game where you play as a young girl interested in environmental activism. It just looked kind of wholesome and that kind of thing.
Also Super Meat Boy Forever, which I don't remember if we had the release date, but I was like, oh fuck yeah, Super Meat Boy Forever.
No, we haven't. That game's been in development for like 10 years.
Yeah, and it's a console launch exclusive to the Switch, which surprised me. Because I remember the first one being an Xbox, like one of the big original XBLA Summer of Arcade games back in the day.
Yeah, I think they announced it at the Game Awards too, or at least they announced the window, and then maybe they announced the date here. I don't know, but But yeah, there's a couple other games that looked interesting there. Anything else?
Fist of Fluffs.
Oh yeah, you got to mention that.
The cat brawler. I saw that and I was just like, yeah, sure, fuck it, let's do this.
That'll go well with my crab fighting simulator that I also have on my Switch.
Perfect.
Totally. I one game that was not in this that I was kind of hoping would be, though I'm not surprised it's not, and also. But I know a lot of other people were hoping for is the Hollow Knight sequel, Silksong. There's a lot of buzz. It made me think it might be in this because everybody was talking about it. And there's also, if you are a big Silksong anticipator like me, apparently Edge magazine is going to have some sort of exclusive on this. So we might be hearing something soon.
Yeah, for their January issue, I think they've got the exclusive on it. I think that's why it wasn't in the indie world. I think it probably would have been if they hadn't gotten that, but I think they kind of have the exclusive there. So
we'll get
go
some
buy
news.
Edge.
Yeah, we'll get some news soon.
Edge is a good magazine, by the way. Have you guys ever read Edge?
I think
it's British, right?
I was about to say it's British, right?
Yeah.
Can you get it in the States?
I think you can at some bookstores. I know I when I was in England once, I bought an issue of Edge and I was like, man, this is a really pretty magazine. They just really well laid out. I recommend it.
Maybe they have a digital version of it or website.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Then unless there's anything else from the indie showcase, Matt, you might want to talk about this one. Funimation is a new streaming app coming to the Switch.
That's right. You can get your anime in app form thanks to the Funimation app.
Yeah, it just came out or is coming out maybe today.
I think it's out now.
Yeah, today. So it'll be out by the time
it came out the 15th of December.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. It's always funny that video streaming apps on the Switch are news, but there are none, and so getting any is always nice.
Yeah.
Without getting into the weeds too much, Funimation recently bought Crunchyroll, so all of the animes that's on Crunchyroll, like Dragon Ball and
oh damn,
all the big ones from Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll is huge.
Will eventually probably come to the Funimation app.
Oh, that's awesome. So they're going to have like pretty much the corner. Sony has the corner on anime then, don't they?
Yeah.
I think the Hulu app that's also on the Switch. Hulu also has a lot of anime, a surprisingly large amount of anime. But yeah, it's a good time to be an anime fan and a Switch owner.
There you go. The three big console companies released a statement via Xbox kind of about their commitment to safer gaming, which is nice to see, sort of a partnership about, trying to have some either regulation or just sort of self-regulation about toxicity and bullying and that sort of thing. So that's cool. You can check that out if you want to find it. This is a big one. And I don't know the specifics of this. Again, I'm going to throw this to you, Matt, because I think you alerted me to this. Tencent bought the Warframe IP. I guess Leiyu is the owner of that, of the Warframe, and probably other subsidiaries. But that just happened. That's big acquisition.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting as we see, corporations get larger and larger and larger and larger. You'll see kind of media conglomerates buying different types of companies, like Tencent is already in video games. They're just buying more IP. I think it's interesting. It's not great for us as consumers, but something to be aware of.
So they didn't buy Digital Extremes, or it's because Digital Extremes is the developer of the game. They bought the rights holder for the game.
They bought the parent company, from what it looks like.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, that's just another notch, especially another free-to-play notch in Tencent's belt. They're really cornering that market for sure. Really trying to own quite a bit of it.
Isn't free to play just huge in China as well? Like they put
Yes.
Call of Duty games out on there. Like there's so much free to play in China.
Yeah. The gacha model really has found a home in China for sure.
Another big potential acquisition is we talked a few weeks ago about how Take-Two 2K was going to possibly buy Codemasters, which makes a lot of racing games, but it sounds like EA now is also maybe end up being who purchases them. They've started a bidding war or made an offer as well. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe
just a smooth $40 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
Not 40 billion?
Codemasters can't be worth that much money.
No. That's how big EA is.
Oh God!
I was like, damn, dog.
They're throwing their $40 billion weight around.
I didn't know Rally Gamers.
That's like 10 times more money than Disney bought Star Wars for. I was like, damn, dude.
Do you not know the power of Dirt 5?
Oh my God.
I do. It is funny that like Codemasters, who has always been like a very respected development house, but never one that like anybody really wrote home about, is now like the prettiest girl at the dance. You know what I mean? And kind of like jumping back and forth between these two really big companies. I mean, obviously EA dwarfs Take-Two, even though Take-Two is a very large company in their own right. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think some of them are offering shares while the other might be offering more cash. So either way, it's a good time to be a Codemasters employee, I imagine. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. This might have some effect on if it does go to EA, the F1 franchise for sure. But yeah, we'll see. Fuck.
Telltale, which is known for its narrative and episodic games, is issued a statement. There's already a lot of speculation that they might be moving away. Well, Telltale's had problems, but that they might be moving away from episodic releases, and they issued a statement that seemingly confirms that, where they say that The Wolf Among Us 2 is going to all come out at once, which I think is a good move. I think episodic games, I think episodic anything is kind of moving away as you think about like Netflix and stuff with releasing. I will say though, I kind of like it for Mandalorian. There is something about like, an episodic thing where you follow it and everybody's commenting at the same time.
I think Netflix should ditch I was actually just talking about this with somebody at work. I think Netflix should completely ditch its binging all at once model. I think that seemed to me like that was like fun for a while, but now it just like kills the longevity of shows, and it kills the social capital because everybody watches it in like a day and they forget about it. You know what I mean?
It's tough, maybe for like big things, but how do you know what's going to be big, right? Like
right. I could see both sides, I suppose, but either way, that's a different conversation. I do think, as far as video games are concerned, I think releasing stuff episodically was kind of a fad, right? And I think that, like, we're on the tail end of it. I think that, like, by the time they announced that Final Fantasy VII was being released episodically, people were already like, what? Why are you doing that? No one wants that anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone ever really wanted it. It was just kind of a way to, like, finish chunks of it and release without having to wait a super long time. They could get more content out that way. But I don't think, Telltale does not have the same base in gaming culture as they used to, so I don't think they can afford to do that model anymore.
It was an interesting idea, and they did it for a while, even before Walking Dead came out, which I remember Walking Dead being huge. I loved those that first Walking Dead game is awesome. And I did think it was, I mean, Telltale isn't even really the same studio they were. Like, they fired most of it's completely different too. So it makes sense that they're doing this transition, but I kind of liked episodic content. It was kind of fun to being like, oh, I have 2 hours to play this month or this next 3 months later and continue the story. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's definitely got its purposes, but I'm not crying any tears over it.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Maybe just to cap that, maybe there's like certain situations that it's good for all things and that sort of thing. But anyway, moving on. Like we discussed, J.J. Abrams' film company Bad Robot has a game studio now that they have announced and that they're hiring for and that kind of thing. Bad Robot Games. So cool to hear that because they should be good at storytelling. We'll see if it translates or if this is a what that means. I don't know.
Rise of Skywalker felt so much like a video game that I was like, they should have just made this a video game.
Holy shit.
You know what I mean? It was just like, get artifact A, it leads me to artifact B, and then artifact, you know what I mean? It just was like, I mean, Mandalorian feels the same way.
Yeah.
But regardless, what I'm saying is I think JJ's storytelling sensibilities would probably be really well suited for video games, where it's kind of questionable what he can really do for some films, like overall stories. I think it would work really, really well for that. And I know he was talking with like Gabe Newell and working with Valve a while ago over something Portal related or whatever. So I'm sure some of those talks have merged into whatever this company is.
This is the episode where I take something you say and want to talk about a sidebar. But like, I really do think that video game lingo and video game things like you're talking about, like fetch quests and stuff, have leaked into a lot of other aspects of culture now that gamers are older and there's more of it. And you like, totally, that's just an interesting phenomenon that I would love to talk about some more sometime.
Yeah,
probably not
if
now.
you want to do an episode on it, I actually have like a little list in my head of like movies that have video game structure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And there's like a lot of them, and especially recently, right? And it's interesting to talk
and
about
lingo and stuff too. But anyway, we should move on.
Yeah, well, one interesting one. I will give a leak of one of the movies on my list is Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is like a video game.
Totally. Oh,
it's like a roguelike. Yeah.
Oh my god, it is a roguelike. God, I want to play that game. Bill Murray in the studio.
Well, I'm just looking at the stats. We lost 100% of our listeners. And we gained 100% more. I love it. That's great.
Bringing us back to Nintendo, a couple quick Nintendo things. The Banjo, Terry, and Byleth amiibos are going to be coming out in March, or at least in Japan, but probably worldwide. They have only announced that on Japanese in Japan, but we'll see. So that's cool if you're looking forward to those. There was a minor Switch system update, I think, to just do some quick fixes where we're now running 11.0.1. Nothing really major there.
Stability intensifies
for sure. And then we got an NSO app update for the NES and SNES games. We got 5 new games here in the US. Donkey Kong Country 3, which is the big one, at least here. And then a few games I do not know anything about, but I'll just list them and y'all tell me if y'all know anything about these. The Ignition Factor, Super Valis 4, Tough Enough, and for the NES, Nightshade. Never heard of any of those, but
yeah, I watched the video and some of them look kind of cool and some of them look fucking boring. I thought the firefighting one looks incredibly boring, so I'll be passing on that. That's in both the American and Japanese releases.
If you want a super slow firefighting sim with that old UI and
yeah, and it looked like mouse controls on a SNES D-pad, so I'm good with that. I think I thought the NES game Nightshade looked pretty interesting for what it is. It looks pretty advanced for an NES game. It's like a point and click adventure. So that's another game that uses mouse controls on the D-pad.
I did appreciate Nightshade. The sequence that they showed was you're tied up on a chair and you're trying to wiggle your way out of it. So it's a guy in a trench coat.
All the clips they picked for this YouTube video were really odd. Like they showed one of the most boring sections of Donkey Kong Country 3. They like, I don't know. It was just a very weirdly cut video, but so some of the Japanese games look pretty cool though. It's like a weird like water polo game or like I guess
isn't that Super Dodgeball? Yeah, isn't that Super Dodgeball?
I guess that's Super Dodgeball.
Oh,
but there's there's a ping pong NES game too, and a game that looks very kind of weirdly similar to like a Super Nintendo version of Gang Beasts or something like that. So there's some cool games on that. So if you have the Japanese app installed, definitely check those out.
I need to make a Japanese eShop account.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Have you guys talked about on here the like update to NSO, which has that like just on the main menu now?
Yeah,
I don't listen to every episode. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Wow.
I love it.
You're off the fucking pond.
I love it. I love that it will show you like my birthday's in March and it'll be like this was released -5 years before you were born. And I was like, I love this. This is great.
Yeah,
pretty odd.
Hopefully that is a harbinger of more to come than just these sort of releases like we just got here.
We're gonna get Firefighting 2, Fire,
the real
harder.
Ignition Factor.
Fire Boogaloo.
Yes.
There's been a rumor / and I guess it was like an announcement that was then like a tweet that was then deleted, that there's a new Sonic animated series coming to Netflix in 2022. I guess somebody jumped the gun on tweeting this and then they deleted it. That's what I heard, at least. So I don't know if they confirmed it after that, but that's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
I hope they get whoever did the animation for the intro to Sonic Mania, because that was fucking smooth and beautiful and nostalgic. And if they did a whole show in that style, I would love that.
Yeah. I feel like a new Sonic cartoon could be great or it could be terrible, but let's hope that it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got some November NPD numbers, and just as a reminder, that's US figures for hardware and also for physical software, though sometimes there's digital in there. Depends on the company. Just mostly not Nintendo. So not huge surprise. The new Call of Duty game is at the top there. Yay. But also high up is Hyrule Warriors, as well as some of the, obviously, like Spider-Man's a really big one, the Assassin's Creed game. Those all sold really well. The hardware numbers are really high. Also not surprising, right? We had a new console launch. So like, I think that this is like records continue to be broken and that kind of thing, according to the NPD, in terms of hardware and just money spent on games and all that kind of stuff, year on year and that kind of thing. And the Switch is doing really great too. So same old take all year long. Video games are doing well.
Good to hear.
And then this is the big one. Cyberpunk came out. Cyberpunk 2077 came out.
Nail me to the cross, boys. Nail me to the cross.
You might get nailed.
About to start defending this game.
Well,
let's fight. Let's do it now.
Yeah, I don't think you have to defend it. Let's talk about it. There's so much to talk about here.
I'm kind of kidding. Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. We can't cover it. We're also maybe not the best people to talk about some of these issues, but holy cow, the game sold a lot. They said that they sold 8 million pre-orders of this game.
Yeah.
And so that's
wild.
On pre-orders alone, apparently they made back their development and marketing costs, which is nuts, right? Because if 8 million, that's like almost 500 million US dollars if they're all 60.
And that's 8 years of development too. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, off and on, there's probably a good deal of that was, previs and concept phases, but like, but still, that's like to make back their entire development cost in the first like day essentially is absolutely crazy.
It's nuts.
Until they get all those returns, but
we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
So like, also I thought this was an interesting fact that apparently Steam had its like new peak concurrent user record of almost 25 million people playing games on Steam at the same time due to Cyberpunk in part. So
that game was apparently had like a 59% split favoring PC users. So most people, the majority of people bought that game on PC. So it's not surprising that you did as well, Patrick.
Yeah, I did. So yeah, it's crazy. And that's apparently the best place to play it, which we'll talk about here in a second. This was an interesting fact too. I think it hasn't done very well on Metacritic, especially some of the platforms. And so they, which I think this is common practice. CD Projekt Red probably deserves some hate for certain things, maybe not this one, that they tie bonuses to a Metacritic score. Well, they went backwards on that. And I think it's not just them that does that. I think there's arguments for and against that. You made a squinchy face, David. You think that's
I think it's like nice to do that, but it's also kind of problematic. I think it's good that they did away with it.
Yeah,
I think there are a couple other studios that do it, but it's like really, I mean, if a game sells 8 million copies in pre-orders.
That should be your
like,
metric.
and it's like an 89 instead of a 90 or whatever that it needs.
That's what it is on PC right now.
yeah. Well, so if that's the case, and it's like the 1 percentage point is going to keep people from getting their fucking bonuses, then like that's just bullshit. You sold so many, just like base it on sales, or whatever, or just be good to your employees. But either way, it's like. It's this weird carrot dangling that CD Projekt Red has unfortunately been known for recently.
Yeah.
Now instead of a $5,000 bonus, they get one pizza party.
I think
you still get bonuses.
I think it's weird also tying bonuses because it leaves like lower level employees to deal with the fact that like that's sometimes a management issue. There's much more to this and Cyberpunk and everything, but it's not just like
100%.
Yeah.
The entire issue with CD Projekt Red is a management issue. I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, right? Otherwise people are just doing what they're told.
Exactly.
And they issued an apology of sorts about the performance, because apparently and I haven't talked to anybody that's played it on these platforms, but the Xbox One and PS4 performance of this game is pretty bad, and the Metacritic scores for that and the other user review scores for that are awful.
IGN gave it a 4. It was like, I know I don't take into reviews, but my God, was it just like, don't play these games on base consoles. And then I saw like videos where it's like dipping into the teens frame rate wise, like those games, this game was not optimized for those consoles. And most people still only have those consoles. Most people do not have the modern hardware, and a lot of people just don't have a good enough PC. I don't.
Yeah, it's very demanding on PC too. So you have to have a pretty good PC to get a good frame rate and all that kind of stuff. So
the performance is hella bad on PS4 and Xbox One. I've been watching the Digital Foundry stuff. Like as soon as a Digital Foundry video goes up, I'm like a moth to a flame. I'm just like, I've been taking it all in. And yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. I have no doubt that they'll patch a lot of it and get it working in a lot better state. But it is like a compromised port, and it's clear that even though the majority of the development time, there were no new next-gen consoles, they did not focus on the last gen, current gen, whatever you want to call it. They love to call it last gen consoles. But which is a problem, right? That should have been a lot better. And it's like also and the game was so delayed and it's still shipped in this state. You know what I mean? The delay time is usually made to fix these issues. So it shows a major issue with management for sure.
That's what
I think also go ahead. This just sells a bill of goods that was like for most players. And this game was announced in 2013, 2012?
Yeah, I think so.
On these consoles. This game was developed should have had these consoles in mind. And I get they want to have high-end PC versions and run on the new consoles, but the fact that a lot of these sales, people were lied to essentially on what kind of game they would get on base consoles, which looks unplayable.
The main problem really is that there was no footage of the Xbox One and PS4 version before release, and and
they wouldn't send it to reviewers. Yeah, they didn't send it to
reviewers. They sent reviewers PC codes, which makes sense. It's the best version of the game, but it's like. They wouldn't even let the PC users show their own footage. You know what I mean? They had to show B-roll and the reviews that came out before the game came out. So it's all super sketchy, and they were hiding a bunch of stuff. And you're right. And they said this apology, but it was definitely I've been seeing this online of that the South Park BP oil spill where they're like, we're sorry. He's like, we're so sorry. And he's rubbing his nipples and skiing down a mountain while he's saying it. It definitely was sketchy. And again, it's you just can't be doing that stuff. And I think that the blowback has been immense from people. Yeah. The negativity is massive.
The other big blowback here on this apology is that they also said, you can seek a refund and that they will, presumably help you to get a refund. But apparently that's news to the platforms because they are not, there's no special situation with Steam or PlayStation or Xbox about getting your money back. And there's people reporting that they can't do it because those platforms have their own policies about that. You've played X amount of hours or this or that. You can't do it. So yeah, what a mess.
I mean, the game, I think that a lot of there's like a ton of negativity around this right now. And there was before it even came out and before anybody even saw any of these like frame rate bugs or the bugs in the game or any of the stuff that's going on. There was already a bunch of negativity about this game because it had gotten so big already. And kind of whenever that happens, there's a huge amount of pushback and toxicity. This happened massively as well with Last of Us Part 2, if you guys will remember. People love to fucking hate on that game after it came out.
Well, there's
even probably more so.
There's a bunch of crunch issues with both of those too.
Totally. And it's not all, and I'm not saying it's not deserved, but it's like, but I do think it's like I've been playing the game and I've been really enjoying the game. I'm playing it on an Xbox Series S and it runs great for me. It's like a smooth 30 frames per second the whole time. It's densely populated. I'm getting some glitches and bugs, which are very annoying, but like I'm not getting performance issues, right? So that's kind of my perspective, but like I'm enjoying the game and I like keep wanting to go to the subreddit and just because whenever a new game comes out, I always go to the subreddit and like discuss things that are happening or like find cool clips. And it's just, the whole subreddit is just people bitching about the game and being like, we don't deserve this. We deserve so much more.
Well, that's
it's
interesting.
Don't pre-order. I think the lesson here is don't pre-order. Like
totally.
It's those pre-orders put them in the red or the black, whatever. I'm not an economics major. Whatever it is, it's don't pre-order, wait till the reviews come out. And I remember like one review came out, GameSpot gave him a 7, and that was crucified, that review, by the Cyberpunk community who had not touched it, and now everyone's turning on that game because people went like, oh, this game is unfinished.
We would be negligent to also not mention that there's been a lot of criticism of the content in terms of Asian representation and a lot of the trans community has been critical of the game. I think this is kind of what you talked about, David, about this being a really big game. And I think like, even if it's a good game, these are good conversations that we're having about games. And I think, it's we'll listen to those people because I'm not Asian, I'm not trans. I'll, take their word for it and that sort of thing. But I think it's cool to see this kind of discourse happening. And that's the one positive for me, is that like now a big game developer is going to have to think about some of these things in advance because they know that they might get some negative press about all of these various issues we're talking about, crunch and representation and all that kind of stuff. That's for me is the silver lining here.
Totally. Yeah. And it's just like, and a lesson to like CD Projekt Red here. I think that the takeaway that I would hope they would take away from all this is like, when you build hype like this and you, and all eyes are on you and like everyone is really anticipating your game, every single thing you do is going to be fucking scrutinized. Yep. Right. So you got to be on really good behavior. You know what I mean? Like if you are going to be trying to pull some shady shit when the game is like this massive and like it's been delayed forever. It's like, delaying an orgasm. You know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking, the anticipation is at an all time. Everyone's edging. You know what I mean? Like waiting for this game to come out.
Cyberpunk 29.
But what I'm trying to say is like, you can't pull shady shit. You have to be honest. You have to like own up to your mistakes. If you know that there are going to be all these eyes on the game and you've got some like content in the game that people are going to take offense to, if you don't want to remove the content, then be prepared for the fucking blowback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like either own it or cut it if you think it's going to be like super offensive. You know what I mean? But it's like they should know at this point, with the game being already, before it even came out, this huge zeitgeist thing. I just wish they had done a better job. Anyway, we'll talk more about my experience.
We'll talk about
the games we've been playing
of it.
But like,
there's so much to talk about here that like honestly we could do a whole episode on Cyberpunk. I feel like, and we could if y'all want, but like
I don't know if a Nintendo podcast is the right place for it.
We could as a special episode or something, but we should move on. Unless there's so much here. So if there's anything you didn't get to say about any of these issues, please say it now.
I really hope that CD Projekt Red has a return to grace like No Man's Sky and Hello Games did. Where they released a game that was lower expectations than what they said. But over the course of 2 or 3 years, No Man's Sky is killing it right now.
Totally.
They released so many great releases to an existing game, and it was all free to the existing owners. So if CD Projekt Red does something like that, if they add multiplayer by end of next year or early 2020, 2022, that'd be great. But just like as David and Patrick and what everyone's saying, just like be honest about what that roadmap is.
And don't make your employees crunch too much to do it. Because that's the other sad thing, right? Is that you think, oh, well, it was only a few weeks before launch, but then they had to crunch now to get out that first patch, and they're going to have to get the next one, and so on and so forth.
January and February, they have patches planned.
They're going to be keep crunching on this game because this game, the first criticism I heard of this game was when the embargo ended was they should have delayed it again. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
They should have just waited till the next gen versions were ready to go.
Yes.
But last thing I'll say is just to throw a tiny bone to CD Projekt Red. They do have a track record. Like when The Witcher 3 released, that was also a buggy, broken mess with terrible performance. And that game now runs great, on all platforms, including the Switch. Right. And so it's when they say they're going to fix a game and that they're going to patch it to make it work, I believe them. And I think that they're true to their word. And I trust them on that. But yeah, I think, do it at a pace that's safe for your employees.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I think
I'm putting down my pitchfork after that game.
I am the arbiter.
Well, we'll see what shape that game is in and if it can win any game awards next year. But we'll talk about the game awards this year after this short break. All right, so this week we are talking about the Game Awards 2020, which just happened within the last week. We'll talk about some of this at the end, but the Game Awards is one of several video game awards, but it's sort of the big one for some reason. Well, I think the one reason is that they have announcements, right? It's not just Game Awards. They have a big show and dance, and they have all these sort of game trailers and stuff. So I think we when we talked about it last year, there was also an indie world showcase. So maybe we can expect those to go hand in hand from here on.
Yeah, I think so. I think just timing works out on that one.
And so we're going to talk about sort of some of the awards, not all of them maybe, but some of them, and then we'll talk about the announcements, and then we'll kind of talk about the show itself and that sort of thing. So who won Game of the Year? Who won almost all of these awards? The Last of Us Part 2 was the big winner this year, I would say. Agree, disagree? They won like 5 or 6, maybe even
7. They won 7 awards.
Yeah.
7 awards. Wow.
It was it really reminded me of last year, or maybe it wasn't last year, but what was the year where Red Dead Redemption won like Red Dead Redemption 2
2 years ago.
Won almost all the awards, and then at the very end God of War took it at the end for actual Game of the Year. I was almost certain that was going to happen this year.
Yeah,
where it was going to be like Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima or Hades or whatever. And that didn't end up being the case, but either way, I mean, fucking big night if you're a Naughty Dog employee.
Yeah, so I think this kind of ties into our Cyberpunk discussion a little bit in terms of, The Last of Us Part 2 was heavily criticized, and Naughty Dog's heavily criticized for employing a lot of crunch, and the question of should they win awards when they might not have the best management practices and so on and so forth. And I don't know the ins and outs of all that stuff, but they won the award. So, and this is voted on by critics and stuff too. So.
Well, they won the award for game direction, which
that's
is what's
the
really
arguable
been criticized.
one, right?
Yeah, that was the one I saw. Kotaku wrote a whole article of
right.
Whatever they won, they should have not won game direction for that amount of crunch.
Yeah,
especially when Hades is there, and that game is that studio prides itself on giving employees their time.
I guess it begs the question of what game direction means, right? Is that because that I guess they're meaning maybe not management, though those things are somewhat intertwined, but so right? Does that what do y'all think about that?
I think it would be a really good idea for them to clarify what a lot of these awards mean in general. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like you said, Patrick, it's this is kind of half a trade show and half half upcoming stuff, show your product, and half awards. I feel like this time it was maybe 20% awards. You know what I mean? They went through awards so fucking fast. I'm sure some of that has to do with COVID, but I think that because there are so many eyes on this award show, I think they would do really well to clarify a lot of the stuff here.
Yeah, they have the little blurbs on their website, that says awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design.
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that doesn't really clarify it for me.
Can you tell me what that is in pictures?
Did you know that Naughty Dogs gets bonuses if they get 3 or more Game Awards?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably not. They're like, all right, you get 1 day off.
Pizza
now.
party!
Oh, man.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they won a ton, like you said, 7 awards, I guess. Game of the Year, big one. Best game direction, best narrative, which I haven't played. Has anybody here played The Last of Us Part 2? You have. Okay.
I
good.
played through it twice because I watched my roommate play it, and then I would play it like back to back. My fiance was watching us, and I have such mixed feelings about that game because that narrative is just a revenge story. I've seen like the 2 people outside will argue with me saying it was great, and I have such mixed feelings about that game because I liked it a lot, but I haven't thought about it since I finished it. And the ending, it's so brutal. And every time I'm like, just want these characters to stop in a way that in the first Last of Us, I thought it was fascinating. The second Last of Us, it just didn't hit the same, even though I thought both characters were well written and I thought the performance was good. Like some of these awards I get, and some of them I'm just like, I don't know, because I'm playing Hades right now and I fucking love that narrative. I think it's interesting. I think it like is nuanced in a way that Last of Us isn't.
And innovative in the way I haven't played Hades either, but my understanding is innovative in the way that it ties in with the gameplay and stuff.
Totally.
Right?
Like it like makes a roguelike make sense. And like every time you die, that story becomes more interesting and more nuanced, and your character grows and you see these relationships.
Yeah.
And like
that's an achievement to make a roguelike story compelling. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I think like Binding of Isaac is an interesting story, but it's mainly just like stuff you find.
Right.
Like Hades is like narrative driven and a roguelike, which is I never even thought that you could do that.
It's so good. It's such a brilliant game. I every time I play a run, I'm like, oh, even when I die, I'm excited to talk to everybody and learn more. Like I'm never frustrated when I die, which is baffling because roguelikes usually I play like 3 runs. I'm like, fuck this. And that game is amazing. Dead Cells is really good too, but that's because Dead Cells is like a perfect gameplay.
But yeah, back to some of the awards, I guess.
Yeah, so they won best game direction, best narrative, best performance, one of the actresses.
Mm-hmm.
They won innovation in accessibility, which
that
we
game's
talked about.
Accessibility is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
I will say that they have like colorblind options, audio options. They do like you can make that game work for anybody with like. I'm not someone who's disabled, so I cannot say like, oh, this is perfect for everyone and every sort of how able they are.
Right.
But the options they give for so many people to make that game playable is awesome. I do agree
cool.
that award, what they did with that.
Yeah, and I think Jeff said he loved the idea of the award, and they'll be doing that award from now on, which I think is excellent.
Should, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good addition.
It's a very good addition.
And best action adventure, they also won that. So. Wow, that's a lot. But we should talk about some of the other games too, right? Best art direction went to Ghost of Tsushima. Matt,
the only award it got.
That. Yeah, that was kind of
that was very surprising.
Yeah. That game's beautiful.
Do you think they deserve that, or you think that's like a consolation prize? People wanted to vote for that somewhere? Or?
I didn't even play Last of Tsushima, and I think it desered that. Just like same. Even before that game ever came out, I was like, this is one of the most stunning games I've ever seen. Also, I will say that I thought Final Fantasy VII Remake did an amazing job with its art direction as well. But I'm not arguing anyone that Ghost of Tsushima won that award.
And Final Fantasy VII Remake won a couple awards, including Best Score in Music and Best RPG.
Thank God. I think, or not necessarily Best RPG, but like if the night had ended without Final Fantasy VII Remake taking away Best Score, I would have lost faith in the entire show. I think just like that was, I think the Final Fantasy VII Remake soundtrack is one of the best game soundtracks of all time. I listen to it constantly. Yeah.
They have this interesting category, Games for Impact, which they could also stand to explain a little bit better.
Please.
But
that's what I was referring to earlier when I said they should clarify some of this stuff.
This was a really funny moment in our Discord. A friend of the show, Lee, was like, oh, this is the only category I've played every game in when they announced this award. And so I was like, Lee, what do you think should win? He goes, oh, I don't know. Tell me why. And then the announcer goes, tell me why. Like right then. Great timing, Lee.
Another story-based show that released episodically.
Yeah.
Or story-based game, rather.
That's a Don't Nod joint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they do some really interesting stuff. I think Games for Impact is a cool idea, but it really is just like a social justice award.
Yeah.
And I say that not being a shitty person who I'm saying that like I think it's really cool. But Games for Impact is like their way of saying like it represents people who don't usually get represented in the game industry.
Gotcha.
In games. That's at least how I've interpreted it.
That makes sense. I kind of thought it meant like emotional impact or something. I couldn't I couldn't tell what it meant.
Sometimes with that, because I didn't Celeste win that last year.
No, it was was it? I forget now.
I forget too. But tell me why it's about like a trans character, from what I understand. I have not played it. I've heard it's interesting. I think it's cool.
I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I have too.
I'll be picking it up on Game Pass at some point.
No Man's Sky won Best Ongoing Game, which we talked a little bit about. No Man's Sky. Matt, you were talking about how they redeemed themselves as an ongoing game, and so maybe that's deserved.
I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Best Indie went to Hades, so there you go, Michael.
I really love that game. It's incredible.
And then Among Us won a couple awards.
What if Best Indie Game was won by Last of Us Part 2?
Then we know something's up. Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That fixes it.
No problem at all. Among Us won Best Mobile Game and Best Multiplayer, which is game of the moment right now. So that's cool. They got an award. If this awards show had happened like a few months earlier, maybe Fall Guys would have like won some of the more awards. But they did win Best Community Support, which is another like, what does that mean?
They like, tweet a lot, I guess.
They have like good community manager.
It seems weird because I feel like there's so many games that I've heard Warframe Community Support is just awesome. Like it's such a weird idea.
I understand. I don't know if does Fall Guys need community support. I guess so. Like because people could hack and cheat and that kind of stuff. And
yeah, I think that might be some of what it's referring to because I know that they clamped super hard down on people exploiting the game like at a certain point, and people really were appreciative of that. Quick side note: I do think it's funny that Among Us. Because I kind of think of Fall Guys and Among Us in the same vein because they both like blew up on Twitch. I think it's funny that Among Us came to Switch before Fall Guys. Like Fall Guys is still not on Switch. They both just seem like obvious Switch games.
Totally.
Yeah.
Both games I have not played and been waiting for to come to Switch for that reason. Because Hades also won the Best Action Game, we should say,
that's much deserved.
Good, it got a couple awards there. Best VR Game, Matt, do you agree with this one? Half-Life Alyx, right? That's got to be the right choice there.
Oh yeah, it's the game of the year and best game soundtrack. It's best game, best game for impact. Half-Life Alyx.
But do you think that's fair? Right, like none of the other VR games that came out this year had a chance, right?
Oh no, like. What was on the list? Marvel's
the Iron Man
VR.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it seems the VR version of Myst just narrowly did not make the cut.
That actually, honestly, I don't have any VR. I'd be very excited to play that Myst.
Oh, VR. Dude, I'm about to buy Myst for like the 9th time. Yeah.
Half-Life Alyx is the one game where I stare and go like, I need a gaming PC because I fucking need to play that. I need a game. I need that. That's the one game I needed this year and I can't play it.
Another game that was in this category for best VR AR was The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is also a very fun game, just because it's fun to like go into like a city and you're like scrounging for resources while there's tons of zombies everywhere. So it's got really great immersion, but it's not even close to Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, I mean, Half-Life Alyx, I feel like kind of got the shit end of the stick, honestly, coming out now when. At least for this award show, right? Because I mean, it's trying to be this kind of bastion of what VR games can be going forward, and being like definitely I think you could still probably say it's like the killer app of gameplay experiences in VR outside of like just like a VR experience. Like this is like a game, right? And it's trying to really push the medium forward, but just the way that the Game Awards works, it's like to be nominated, you have to have played it. And I just think that not a ton of, I watch a lot of gaming YouTube podcasts and all these different people, and so many of them are like, oh man, I heard that was great. You know what I mean? But it's like it really shows like how niche VR still is, and even a new Half-Life game can't get people to go over to it.
Yeah.
So it's still an uphill battle for VR, but at least they got the recognition. But I wish I could have seen it in some other categories, because I did hear the game was excellent.
Mm-hmm. We have to mention that Best Family Game went to Animal Crossing New Horizons. So Nintendo and Animal Crossing did win one award. They were up for Best Game, but obviously didn't win that. And then there's several other awards we could talk about. In particular, there's a lot of esports awards. A lot of those went to League of Legends, which is outside most of our wheelhouse. Not all of them. I think maybe Counter-Strike won one award for like best coach, but they always win best coach. Counter-Strike must have like a really good coaching. I don't know. We don't know. My cousin should know. I'll talk to him. We'll have to bring him on if we ever want to talk Counter-Strike. But
who gives a single fuck who was the best esports coach?
I think my cousin
of
does.
the year. All right. No, sorry, that's me speaking. That's me speaking out of turn. That's me speaking out of turn.
Not our audience, right? Like that's not our audience. That's not us.
Best esports coach goes to The Last of Us Part 2.
Ellie from Last of Us Part 2.
So any award that I jumped over or anything about the awards and all that y'all want to talk about? Go ahead, Michael.
2. 1, the idea of MK11 Ultimate, a game that came out last year, and they snuck this in because they put out an Ultimate version. Winning a fighting game one is funny because it did not come out this year. Mortal Kombat 11 did not come out this year.
Yeah, I think the fighting game category is tough because like fighting games are here for more than 1 year, right?
Yeah, they stick around for a while.
These days, especially.
Yeah. And to the extent that there are new ones. It's stuff like this. It's like the Turbo Street Fighter.
It's kind of weird that became it. I just thought that was interesting. The other one is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 was my favorite thing to play in grad school when I needed to just de-stress during September. That game is awesome, and it's supposed to have a Switch release, or there was rumors about it.
There's rumors, yeah.
That game is awesome. If you get a chance to play it, play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It brings you back to 1999 in a very nice way.
They won Best Sports / Racing.
Yes, excuse me.
Right. I was very happy to see Microsoft Flight Simulator win Best Sim / Strategy Game. It's nice for it to get some recognition.
That's pretty big,
It was a huge thing that came out this year, but it doesn't really fit into any category other than that.
Yeah.
If there was like the cleanest fucking graphics award, maybe it would win.
Best clouds.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow, that was a good Jinx moment, yo.
Yeah.
I was gonna say cloud gaming, but it still worked.
Oh, okay. Microsoft Flight Simulator takes cloud gaming to another level.
It does. It's honestly that I'm so excited to try that game once it comes out on Xbox.
We'll talk about it in the announcements, but I'm super pumped.
I can't wait to play Microsoft Flight Simulator with other people.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a good, unless there's any other awards. Matt, did you have something you want to say about the awards?
I just have one. It's an unlisted category, which is the most money. That's Animal Crossing New Horizon.
Soon to be Cyberpunk.
That is one that Last of Us Part 2 cannot snatch away.
Yeah. Nintendo doesn't care about any of the other awards if they got that one.
They got most money.
What a great game at the start of the pandemic.
Yes.
Agreed.
I am glad it didn't win Best Multiplayer though, which it was up for and it definitely did not deserve. We should move on to the announcements then.
Yeah.
Because there were some really cool announcements. Maybe we'll start with the Nintendo specific stuff and then we'll get into everything else, including what was just alluded to about Microsoft Flight Simulator. They very early on in the show, was this the first announcement?
Close to, yeah.
Smash?
It was after the pre-show, but at the beginning of the award show.
After they had already handed out 15 awards.
Yeah.
Which the pre-show.
Maybe we could talk about like, this event, like the way
we'll talk about that at the end.
Hand out events or hand out awards rather. So they opened with this Smash Brothers announcement. Nintendo told us the day before or the day of that they were going to announce a new Smash Brothers fighter at the event, so that was cool. We knew it kind of coming into this, but I was thinking that fact that we knew it meant it would happen later in the show, and they would use that to build anticipation, but they opened up with it. And as we all know by now, we got Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII / all the other Final Fantasy spin-offs. And
the one-winged angel.
Wow. So like, I think we talked about this. This was unexpected, no rumors, no, everybody thinks Square won't play ball with putting their characters into this game because they only have 2 music tracks. And it's kind of rumored that Cloud was hard to get back for Smash Ultimate. So it was surprising. Also, they've just done a great job at keeping these characters under wraps. The last several characters, there's not been a lot of credible leaks or rumors about them. And they had a cool. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, quick shout out to Jeremy, who's been on our show a number of times. Was just popping the fuck off.
Oh my gosh!
In the Discord chat. First of all, Jeremy was hilarious throughout the entire show, and I was very glad to have him in our chat.
Jeremy, I love you, but I muted you at some point. You were getting drunker and drunker as it went on.
Anyway, I found his reaction to Sephiroth to be quite enjoyable.
Oh, that was funny. We should talk about our experience of watching it together because Jeremy was.
I will say this moment is like we're a video game podcast and we learn and we read these leaks all the time, and it feels like I feel like I'm not surprised a lot, but these kind of moments where a character we don't expect is announced in a game series that I love. Like these are the moments that I kind of live for as a video game fan. And it was really great to also be on Discord with everyone in the Switch Headz community who was freaking the fuck out all at the same time.
That was a real delight watching it with all you guys. If you're listening right now and you were in that Discord call, thank you for joining us for that.
Thank you.
That was a blast.
Yeah, we'll have to do more stuff like that.
Anyway, back to Sephiroth.
This was like also sort of a 180 from the Minecraft Steve because it's like a different generation of gamer that this is appealing to. It's appealing to people roughly my age, who were 17 or whatever when Final Fantasy VII came out.
Old ass motherfuckers.
You do not want to know how old I was when Final Fantasy VII came out.
Yeah, like I heard some joke about this being a boomer character.
Totally.
And it's like, you guys realize that I'm a millennial, right? Anyway, this was huge. Also, Sephiroth just looks cool. He's got the super long sword. Man, it's going to be really interesting to see. It sounds like we're going to have more info about it in a couple days.
It's so funny. Yeah, they're doing a presentation on the 17th. So pay attention to that. And I would expect that it would drop very soon after. So we'll definitely be getting them soon. Hopefully this
Christmas.
week.
I bet it's Christmas Day.
Yeah, I
think it'll be the 18th.
They said
it'll be. Yeah,
they said December, so it could be anytime.
I think we'll get them Friday, personally. But
I hope so.
That's my guess, and if I don't get it right, I'll eat my Martha Amiibo. I just look around my desk for things that I'll say I'll eat for the record. But yeah, I do think it's funny how nobody's complaining that it's an anime sword boy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's Sephiroth.
Because it's Sephiroth, right? Sephiroth. It's like. But I think it looks great. I mean, he's got the super long sword. It reminds me a lot of Alucard as well. I saw like an alt costume of Sephiroth as Alucard. It looked really great. I hope to see something like that in the game. But either way, it looks like a really fun character. I can't wait to see how he plays, and I can't wait to try him out. And yeah, it's always great to have more villains in the game.
I think there's a lot I would love to talk about on this, but we have a lot to talk about generally, so I think we'll move on. There's so much Smash specific stuff I would love to talk about, but moving on, unless somebody else has something. Nintendo specific announcements at the show. Monster Hunter Rise is going to get a demo. They showed a trailer for that game. That's cool that they're giving a demo for this game. That excites me because I was like, I don't know if I want to. I've never played a Monster Hunter. Now I can try it out. Coming in January. Yeah. And then there's some interesting Capcom announcements, y'all. This arcade stadium thing, which is basically Capcom's way of tricking you into buying old games, I think. That's what I'm calling it. It looked cool, and they're like, it's free. Well, one of the games is free.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to do it, though. It's like, instead of doing like a virtual console where it's just all the games are just kind of loose on your system, it's more like it's like not the Williams, but Zen Pinball, where that's like a free download. It comes with one table and then individual tables you can buy, right? So yeah, I think it's a better way to do it.
The idea is it's kind of like you're buying an arcade cabinet and then you can fill it up with different games, I guess, or the naming of it. But you can get 1943 for free, which is like one of those plain
Shmups.
There you go. Thank you.
Shoot 'em up.
Shmups. And then, you can buy packs of 10 games, I think it is, something like that. And I'd be interested to see how they split the games across to make you want to buy every pack.
Oh, so they're not just individual games.
No, it's a game bundle with 10 games each.
How much do the bundles cost?
I don't know that they've announced that. That's a great question.
Okay, fair enough.
Either way, it's cool. I love having... I don't even like play them that much, but I love having retro games on my Switch. Right, like I've got the Genesis collection and a lot of the old Mega Man collections and stuff like that. I think the Switch is a great place to have like old bundles. So I'm happy about that.
That's coming in February. Also coming in February from Capcom. And I think both of these are timed exclusive type deals on the Switch, is the Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, which I misspelled here on the show notes, and that's bothering me.
Our listeners don't need to know that, Patrick.
They need to know that it bothers me.
I couldn't tell that you misspelled it. I have a master's degree
Quick
now.
fucking shout out. This is segue episode, but quick shout out to Patrick, who does the show notes every single week. You do a great job, Patrick.
Oh, thanks. Y'all do great jobs at the art and being awesome and editing and all that stuff. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, which I was confused. Is this like a new skin on an old Ghosts and Goblins game? No, I think this is a brand new, old school, but with like, how do you describe these graphics?
Bad.
2.5D.
Ugly.
You don't like it?
I think because we heard about it before, like because of the leak, and it was like it was like, oh, they've got this like guillotine game. It's a new Ghosts and Goblins. So like, ooh, what could they do with a Ghosts and Goblins game? And then it was like, oh, it's like a Newgrounds game. That's what it looks like.
It kind of looks like Monty Python, like art. I've heard somebody compare it to.
Yeah, I guess so.
I wish it was like super sweet pixel art. I think that would have been a cooler way to go. But
it was not gelling with me personally. I think I could see a lot of people really enjoying this style, and I think when you put it in terms of Monty Python, I can actually see that, and it makes me appreciate it almost a little bit more.
Oh, good, yeah.
But I was like, it just kind of felt like the air was being blown out of the tires a little bit.
I hear
I've never been the biggest Ghosts and Goblins like stan anyway.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Those games are fucking hard.
Yeah, they are.
So
and it doesn't look like this one's going to be easier, though. We'll see. I was like, oh, a new one where they maybe have some modern things, but it kind of feels like they're not going for that. We'll see.
It was like the Souls games of the 16-bit generation, like the Ghosts and Goblins games.
I wish they did the like Mega Man 11 thing and like make it look 9 and 10, not 11. 11 was modernized. The kind of like classic look and all that stuff.
Yeah,
cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last sort of Nintendo announcement: Disco Elysium Final Cut, and sort of a, I guess, updated version of Disco Elysium. We've known is coming to consoles at some point. It's coming summer 2021 to Switch. Sounds like PlayStation's got some exclusivity. It's going there in March, or at least launch exclusivity for consoles. So those were the Nintendo specific announcements, but definitely not all the announcements, and definitely not even some of the biggest ones. Was there anything y'all want to talk about in particular? Like, what's biggest to you guys? Perfect Dark was a real big one, right? Is that the biggest thing for y'all? Or y'all excited about that?
That's exciting. Yeah,
a new Perfect Dark game. They didn't show much, right?
No, it was like a pyramid and like the world's ending.
And that's,
I mean, it was like the Datadyne logo is when you kind of knew that it was the Perfect Dark. Yeah.
And sort of similarly towards the end of the show was a Mass Effect reveal, a new Mass Effect game. Also, they didn't show anything there either, right? Like that was
What was interesting about that is that they showed, like, did any of you play Andromeda?
No.
Mm-mm.
That game is not good, but it has, what they showed was a character from the original Mass Effect trilogy, Liara, or it looks like Liara. And it's like, it looks like they've just abandoning whatever the Andromeda series was, because that game was so poorly received. I'm interested, but very hesitant. I feel like that Mass Effect series is, you got the trilogy, which they're doing the like remakes or like restorations collection, which is cool. I hope they do something interesting. Mass Effect 2 is one of the best games ever made.
So Mass Effect 4, presumably. I don't think they even gave a name to this, right? Like we'll see what.
Just
no, this is the era of sequels where they just make it the name of the first one that came out.
Perfect Dark.
Like I'm surprised Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker wasn't just called Star Wars, honestly.
Yep. And there were a bunch of other announcements. I don't know. We talked about Microsoft bringing the flight simulator to Game Pass, right? Isn't that what they announced? Or
yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to be happening anyway, and I don't know if they gave a specific date, just that it's happening next year. I thought they said
summer.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, we saw footage of it running on Xbox Series X, supposedly. So, that's looking great, and I've been waiting to play that game very patiently since my computer just can't handle it. But yeah, I'll be playing that right away. I can't wait to play like online with people, like you were talking about, Matt. Like that's like a kind of a cool aspect of that game is that it's all constantly online. So I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, it'll be really fun when we're flying in the air. We're like, where are you? Which airport? Are you in Northeast? Give me your coordinates.
I'm at LaGuardia. Are you at JFK?
I'll be like, where are you? And then I'll like look up and you'll just be crashing into my house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fuck you, dude.
I'm excited to fly home because I haven't been able to do that in well over a year now.
That's true. That's true.
And you can crash into your own house.
You can crash into your parents' house.
They deserve it.
Wow.
Some other games that were announced, two games that come to mind. Evil Dead, the game looks fun. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan.
Fuck yes.
And we have representations from all different Evil Dead movies, from Army of Darkness and from Evil Dead 2 and from Evil Dead. That looks really fun. I don't know what the gameplay will be like, if it's like Dead by Daylight or if it's like a Left 4 Dead style game, but either way.
Yeah, it didn't look super Dead by Daylight to me.
It looks like you play as Ash.
Yeah. It looked a lot more frenetic than I was thinking it would be. So I was excited about that.
If there is a chainsaw hand and a shotgun, I am happy.
I do not like horror as a genre very much. No problem with people that do, but I do like Evil Dead. Like I think that the camp and the fun and the
camp.
I do love the camp.
It's so good.
And he's not talking about like horror movies that take place at camp.
Yeah,
okay,
like sleepaway camp or whatever.
I was gonna
go ahead.
If you're gonna mention
please.
one more, I was gonna say, speaking of Dead, Back 4 Blood, spiritual successor of Left 4 Dead by Turtle Rock Studios, looks really fun. As soon as this game got announced, I hopped on their Discord and I'm excited to play their alpha, which I got a key to.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Very good.
I have many really good memories in college playing Left 4 Dead with some friends. So I'm excited to see a bigger and better Left 4 Dead by the same group of people and developers who made Left 4 Dead 1, who made Turtle Rock, who also made Ark.
Right. Speaking of Ark, I did want to bring up the Ark 2 trailer, which we were having some fun with in our voice chat.
Vin Diesel's Ark.
Yeah. Well, it was like Vin Diesel. I think it's always funny to pretend that I think that Vin Diesel is The Rock. And then it was like, we thought it was Turok at first, and then I was like, guys, it's Dwayne Turok Johnson, which I was really proud of, but nobody else seemed to really laugh that hard at.
I missed that. I'm very sorry. I missed that.
But yeah, I thought that looked. I just think Vin Diesel's a really goofy looking guy. So whenever he's in a video game, I enjoy it immensely.
He looks so old now. Like I was looking at that, I'm like, old Vin Diesel looks old. Like I remember him in.
Yeah, I was like, his digital ass still looks 50 years old or whatever.
Yeah, like they didn't age him down. Like at least in Escape from Butcher Bay, like that game is like him in his 30s or whatever.
I thought that Season, which is like a PlayStation game, looked really interesting.
That does look great.
Visually as well as gameplay wise. It seemed pretty cool.
Is that like a photography game? It looked like?
Yeah, maybe? Like you're writing in your journal or like, some sort of journaling photography thing going on there. Yeah.
I thought It Takes Two looked amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play that game. That's by the people who did A Way Out and Brothers, I believe. So yeah, very, very excited for that game as well, to play some fun cooperative games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. I thought that looked cool too. We have to mention Fortnite, I guess. Master Chief's coming to Fortnite, like the rumors and leaks said, but we didn't get any announcement about Samus or any Nintendo property.
Womp womp.
Do we think there's any chance of that? Probably not at this point.
No.
They're so protective of their IP.
Yeah.
Microsoft's
that was
like, whatever.
That was something that the fans just willed into existence, that rumor. I don't think it ever had any backing. I think it was just like, well, Samus would make sense.
Yeah. There was another trailer that spoke to me, but go ahead, Matt, while you're talking.
I was going to say one thing about the Halo announcement, which was they're bringing the Halo classic map, Blood Gulch, into Fortnite.
Oh, that's big. Yeah.
That's cool.
And you can play Blood Gulch and Master Chief in Fortnite. And then David, I think it was you, was just like, hey, we could just boot up Master Chief Collection and actually play Blood Gulch from Halo 1.
Yeah. I guess we should also mention, because you're such a big Myst fan, and you made a joke about it earlier, there's Myst VR.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had announced that already.
Oh, okay. I didn't heard it.
It was just a trailer for it.
They showed a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super plugged into science Twitter, so I see all the Myst announcements when they come out. But yeah, I mean, it does look great. It's just funny. It's like the 10th time that game has been remade. There was one game, and I'm actually trying to find what the name was. I think it might be Road 96, but
that game looked awesome.
It was like basically like a procedurally generated road trip game. So it was kind of like. It reminded me of like if Outrun had story elements and
Is it Open Roads.
Open Roads.
Is it? There were two road games. I think Open Roads is like about a relationship.
Yeah,
that was the
game-
Is that the
game
one
that.
with Kerry Russell?
Yeah,
That's the one with Kerry Russell. That's the one that looked like Lady Bird.
That looks cool to me. I liked that.
does.
I like
that game. Looks really good.
But anyway,
Yeah,
the people who did Tacoma.
Yeah. I mean that looks good too. But this other game. Let me make sure I'm talking about the right thing.
I think
here.
it's Road.
Yeah. Road 96. So
Yeah.
Road 96. What I like about it is that it's procedurally generated. It looks a lot like the game The Red Lantern, which I still haven't played, which I want to do, which is like an Iditarod game that's also procedurally generated. But I just think taking the roguelike structure and putting it into narrative stuff is something that like Hades did really well, and I think would work really well with both of these games. And I just thought, yeah, the idea of a road trip that's different every time you play it, and like these different stops along the way, and then running into enemies or like holdups at gas stations or whatever, it just seemed like a really cool idea for a game. So I was excited about that one.
awesome. We skipped over a bunch of announcements. I'm sure if you're out there listening, maybe there's something you liked we didn't talk about, but we should move on unless there's another big announcement somebody wants to talk about. To talk about the show generally, just kind of close out with thoughts about what the Game Awards is like. This weird amalgamation of giving out awards and making announcements is what actually makes us tune in for it, I think. And so I understand why they do it, but it does feel like two things kind of clashing. Do y'all still feel that way? I know last year we kind of talked about this.
It felt like it more this year. Like really watching it felt more like a commercial because you're getting so many things for games that are out already. So like a game announcement is an ad, but it doesn't feel like an ad. When you're telling me Master Chief's coming to Fortnite, that just feels like an ad. And that felt more intense this time around than ever. And I think it's the onlineness of it.
Yeah.
That did it.
We weren't able to get together in person, but we did have fun watching it as a group too. There was that element this is a fun show to watch with you all. And and that adds to it. We can joke about that aspect of it a little bit in person or online together.
I do think that if you say the show starts at 6, don't start the show at 5:30. You know what I mean? Because like the pre-show was the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they gave out like tons of awards over the pre-show and had tons of announcements. So it's like just call it the show and say it starts at 5:30. Because I was like, I started watching at 6 and I was like, oh, I missed like best score and best all this different stuff that it was happening and God knows how many announcements. So it was like. So I think the show is just kind of long, or felt very long.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that by necessity, what's funding this show and what they think people want are these announcements and these trailers for things, and so that turns it into a long event where maybe if you're lucky, 30% of these trailers appeal to you. No gamer is into all of it, so that's why there has to be a lot. But then it does feel like some of the awards, like you said, are just rushed where they're like, and best this is that, and best this is that. And then now a new world premiere, which thank you, Matthew, by the way, for that world premiere voice you did as we were watching it. That was great.
You can't whip that out right now. Can you?
Please whip it out.
You want me to whip it out right now? We're on camera.
Oh boy.
It's an audio podcast. It's fine.
Oh, my bad. I am, for you, David, I am not using any software microphone mods.
Fair enough.
So
I'll try to do my best. World premiere. World premiere. Anyway, that's what
premiere.
Hey, there you go. That sounded pretty good.
Yeah, so we've talked about this in the past too, but like what would you change about this show? What would you do to, is there any suggestions that or ideas y'all have about like what could make it more streamlined or better or anything that's missing?
I think in person, I think it's missing the in-person element that made it like the sincere, like having Reggie back and things like that were nice, but like the video element of it made it a little bit weird. And I think having people on stage and like if you had the Among Us developers on stage when she was like crying and just felt very honored, like that felt like a really, those announcements felt very sincere and that was nice. And you not having that on stage kind of made it miss it a lot. I think Keely's doing the best he can with a show that like the Spike Game Awards back in the day, which are just the genetic DNA for this, like it seems like they're doing the best they can. I just wish it didn't feel so much like an ad, but I also understand that's how he pays the bills and gets to do what he wants to do, which is award games a big show. Like Keely's goal is to have an Oscars.
Yeah.
And it's harder to do with that with games because they don't have the prestige.
Yeah.
Rightfully or not.
I think they've got the prestige. I think it's more the, you know, the way games have been represented in the media up to this point.
That's what I mean.
Is not that way. Yes. It's like, you know, and so I get it. And, you know, and he's bringing eyes to it and stuff like that. And I don't hate the announcements. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to talk about the announcements after the show and to see new games and stuff like that. It'd be weird if at the Oscars they were like, incoming soon, Rogue Squadron, you know, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool to have both. I just think like, it felt like 30% awards and 70% announcements this time. And I'd like to see that come a lot closer to 50% or even skewing the opposite direction. Because I think that they underestimate how many people are actually just interested in watching the award show as a celebration of the past year in gaming. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I think this has been a great year for gaming. You know, gaming has really flourished while a bunch of other businesses and ways of life have just died over this past year. And so like, you know, I think people are want to do that. You know, I think they underestimate the amount of people that would tune in for something like that. I get why they do it, and they get a lot of money to do the advertisements, and that makes sense. And I do think Keely's doing a good job. But I think ultimately, I'd like to see that get closer to 50-50 or skew in the opposite direction.
I think we talked about this last year. I think opening this up to other elements of gaming would be really great. We think this is your idea, David. There should be speedrunning category. This is also not my idea. This is from a gaming journalist who said there should probably be awards about gaming journalism and podcasts. I think it'd be great if they, incorporated other elements of gaming.
Nintendo themed podcast hosted by 3 comedians from Texas.
Also, who are in the United States and are libtards.
Best premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet.
When they announce that next year, you guys are gonna freak.
Yeah, it's like Last of Us Part 2 wins.
Fuck, not again.
This has been great. I think
third beat.
Anything else y'all want to talk about the Game Awards or any final thoughts on this before we wrap up?
Listen, I was just happy we all got together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Earnestly and honestly, it was nice because last year we were all drinking Malort and getting drunk.
For Daddy Reggie, whenever he popped up on the screen.
Yeah, and that was great.
That was amazing.
But in this day and age when sometimes it's easier to get together, but also a little bit harder with like connection and feeling that connection to other people. And while I have feedback for the Game Awards, mostly I am very, very happy that we could all get together, hang out, and enjoy something that we all love.
Same. I think ultimately, you know, I do have issues with it, but ultimately I had a good time, and it is nice to see an award show for video games, right?
Great.
That's like publicly seen by a lot of people. You know what I mean? Do I think it could improve? Yes. But at the same time, it was a very nice celebration. And it was like information overload because the big Disney investor call was that day too. So they were also showing like 11 new Star Wars shows and like all these new Marvel movies coming out. That was going at the same time as the Game Awards. So that was a wild day for information intake.
That's
That
right.
was very nerdy. That was a nerdy couple of hours.
Yeah, you were, David, you were giving us like that info on the Discord, which was great because I'm like, oh, there's also going to be a Mandalorian spinoff, 2 of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's Sephiroth.
Sephiroth is in Star Wars. Wait, I'm getting these confused.
Give it a couple of years.
All right. Well, I think we talked about it. We did it. We'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about the Game Awards. Share them with us. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. This week, I have been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. Still playing a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 again.
Yo, let's go, Patrick.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm into it. I really am. And my goal is to beat it by the end of the year, which, it's already December 15th. Okay.
Oh, my God.
But I always get a lot of gaming in around Christmas, so I think there's a good chance. And then before I get to Cyberpunk, my kid had his birthday, and for his birthday presents, he got a lot of Lego Mario sets, which isn't exactly a video game, but it kind of is, y'all.
Cool.
Which
he's got a little TV in his tummy.
Yeah, he does, and it's fun. Like it's fun building them and putting them up. I don't know, in 2 or 3 weeks, or much less 6 months, how much we'll be doing it. So that's always the question with any toy. But like, it's been fun to build with him, and he's into it. And
are there different Mario Lego sets?
Yeah, so you have to get the starter pack, which is the only way to get Mario, which his uncle got him. And then we got him Bowser's Castle, which is one of the bigger, more expensive ones. And another couple family members got him some of the small ones, which another one of his uncles got him the like Mario house, which who knew Mario has a house? Y'all.
Oh, yeah, he's got a house.
He's got a house. And he's got a hammock in it, and you can put Lego Mario in the hammock and rock him to sleep. And he's like, and he starts closing his eyes and going to sleep.
He's like, mozzarella.
It's super cute.
Tortellini.
Super cute, though. Like my son.
Come on, Patrick. Everyone knows Mario's famous hammock.
Yeah.
My son and I both had this thought separately, which is like, why isn't there a Luigi? I want to play with you. I actually think that would make us play it more. Because we kind of take turns playing as Mario and stuff. So hopefully they'll put out a Luigi. Hey, Lego and Nintendo, if you're listening, I'll pay the $50 or whatever to get a Luigi. And then Cyberpunk came out, and I got it on Steam. And
let's talk punk.
Let's talk punk. I only am about 4 or so hours into the game. I played a lot when it first came out, and then I talk about this on the podcast a lot. I really play Switch a lot because of the convenience. So it's hard for me to sit down at the computer for hours at a time. But I did when it first came out, and I just haven't had a chance since first weekend of it being out. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's fun, right? Glitchy. It's probably racist. I'll take people's word for that.
I haven't been really seeing too much. I am a white guy.
Yeah,
though,
that's
so
our
I don't
problem.
know.
That's our problem.
Yeah, it is such a problem.
And so, but just at least on Steam, I'm getting solid 30 frames per second, which I thought my PC would do better. I have a pretty new PC, so I was a little disappointed with that. But at the same time,
what's your rig? What do you have in there? CPU and GPU?
Yeah, I can't answer those questions.
Okay,
I'm not that big of a nerd. All I can say,
how many teraflops
is that last year I invested with the help of my cousin, who's a big PC gamer, in Black Friday deals and getting a big PC together. And then listener of the show, coworker of mine, Brandon, put it together for me. And so it's pretty new. I mean, not top of the line, but a lot of flops. But anyway, Cyberpunk, we should talk about that. I'm not deep enough into it, but the only glitches I'm experiencing are NPCs. Like I'll walk up to NPCs and stare at them because that's how I play role playing games. Is I talk to everybody, and then like they'll be like sitting there doing this with their hand on their face and then pop, and then they're like walking away, and it's like, whoa, that's disconcerting. The NPCs are the main glitch that I'm experiencing.
Yeah, NPCs like car AI and police are like the major immersion issues with the game right now, I think. Like, for instance, like wherever you are, like if you kill somebody, like the police will just like spawn right by you. They'll like spawn directly behind you, and they don't like roll up in their cop cars like they do in GTA, which is a major issue, and I really hope they fix that soon.
And you only got to go a couple blocks away to get away from them. Like, right? Yeah, like the escaping from
either that, or they'll just like never stop chasing you. Like my major issue with the bugs so far is that like it's hard for me to tell what's intentional and what is glitching out. You know what I mean? So like there are times where I'm like, am I not finding this object that I need because I'm doing something wrong? Or is it because the object like glitched out of the game and I just can't beat this mission right now?
That's
and that's the major issue with it at the moment. Is like, I mean, you can kind of, it's funny in a way because you have this early in the game, you have this chip kind of like put into your head, which causes issue. Maybe you haven't gotten there yet, Patrick, but which causes, visual issues and like stuff glitches around like intentionally. So you can kind of, say like, hey, maybe all these are just glitches that are happening inside the character's head.
And then some of the collectibles I've also been like, I can't get that. Like, and maybe is that intentional? Am I doing something wrong? Is that a collectible?
Like what?
Something on the ground that like you can, when you turn your, what you call it on, you can tell is
the crosshairs are a little finicky with objects that you can pick up.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
But other than that, I'm pretty early on, but I will continue to play it over the Christmas break. I'm sure, and it's man. I think they should have put fewer NPCs in the game. There are so many people walking around. Like I don't know if that's an issue and causing frame rate issues or just the AI glitches, but dang, I've never seen a game with this many just NPCs walking around. It's incredible.
I mean, I think that's something that they really did come through on in their promise, and some of their promises early on is like just how massive the city feels and how alive it feels, even if like what they said about like, and each character will have their own path that they take throughout the city. I think that ended up being kind of bullshit. Yeah. But people will just like spawn out if you look away from them.
Or if you go zoom up on a person, they'll just kind of pop exactly. around a little bit.
Yeah. They'll T-pose a lot. But I think, I know like the PS4 and Xbox One versions, they have smaller crowds, right? So that might be what's causing you some performance issues on PC. But I'm loving the game. I'm about 20 hours into the game right now. Actually, I think I'm about 20 hours in. I've been totally addicted to it. When I started, I wasn't sure exactly what to think of the game. I liked it a lot, but it was also like, man, am I really having fun or am I just liking the world? But I think at that point I was playing it really kind of fast and loose, like a GTA game. But then I kind of at one point, like in the story, was kind of forced to slow down a little bit. And at that point I kind of started slowing down the way I was playing the game, and I kind of started playing it more like a Deus Ex game. And as soon as I started doing that, which I love the Deus Ex games, as soon as I started playing it like that, I started getting a lot more out of the game, right? Like taking my time with sneaking, really deciding what kind of items I should take in with me if I'm going to do a raid, deciding whether or not I'm going to try to smooth talk out of a situation or, hustle somebody or put pressure on them without hurting them. There's all these different decisions that you really can make. And I think the game does a really great job with that. And then, like I said, I read all the shards in the game, like all the little bits of literature that's throughout it. And I'm just a huge sucker for the cyberpunk genre in general. I love Snow Crash and Blade Runner and all that kind of stuff. So I'm eating it up, and it feels like a game that was like made for me. So I'm definitely really enjoying it. I wish it wasn't so buggy. I think, hopefully over the next couple months that gets a lot better and they improve some of that, the issues they have with the AI. But otherwise, yeah, I'm having a great time, and I would recommend it. I get why you wouldn't want to play it right now, though, and I think waiting until February or even, summer or whenever these next gen patches are out to get it for the Series X or the PS5 or whatever, like, that might be a really good time to wait and jump into the game at that point.
Anything else you've been playing, David?
No. I mean, I danced the Macarena on Just Dance the other day.
Good job.
Thank you. That was my physical activity for the week. Matt, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
Man, now I want to play Cyberpunk.
It's good, dude. It's a good game.
Because you texted me, and I was like, man, I really want to buy this game, but I'm going to wait until I have 2 weeks off from work and then play it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Because
So
it can suck you in for sure.
Yeah.
Good characters.
I've been revisiting some games in the backlog this past weekend. I started playing Resident Evil 2 remake.
Nice. That game rules.
Yeah, it's really good. I had a buddy, listener of the podcast, shout out to Joe, sent me his PS4 copy through the mail.
Nice.
And I've been playing it. It's super good. The graphics are great. The voice actors are also really good. And it just makes me nostalgia for the first time that I played Resident Evil 2 and having like a licker or a zombie jump through a window and having those experiences again has been really great.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one I need to play. I've been putting that one off.
Yeah, it's from my understanding, it's a quick game. You can probably knock it out in like a couple weeks, maybe a day for you, David. You could knock it out in 2 days. I don't know. Who knows?
You should mail me your friend's copy whenever you're done with it.
I will mail it to you,
and then I'll mail it back to your friend.
That sounds great. And I've been playing Apex more and more and more. And I've transitioned from noob to now I'm a tryhard again. Michael, what about you? What have you been playing?
I've been messing around a lot. So I just graduated from graduate school last week. So my time.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. It is done.
Also, happy Hanukkah, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's Hanukkah.
I ran and did the menorah right before we got it. Like called my fiance over. I'm like, here, I'll put the prayers on YouTube so you can do it.
Yeah,
we've been doing that every night. That's been nice.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Hades lately. Hades is great, honestly. Like I thought I was done with roguelikes after I kind of petered out on Dead Cells this summer. I was like, I guess I don't want a roguelike. And then I played Hades. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do everything you need to do for this. This game plays great, the story's great. I love it. I also mentioned, I think before we started recording, the Xbox One X I bought off someone. So I bought Game Pass and have just been messing around with a whole bunch of stuff. So Dave and I did Halo 2 co-op for a little bit, and that was fun to go back to.
We gotta pick that back up, man.
I agree. That Arbiter level, man, that respawn was the worst for like
that was fucking annoying with the super cringe like emo music that was playing.
Oh, so bad. When I went back to original, way better on original.
Yeah, I agree.
But that was fun. I've been messing around with Halos. I've been playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order a little bit, and that game is cool. But I'm not a big fan of Souls games, so like I want to run up with a lightsaber and like whack away, and I have to remember like, oh, I have to back off and like roll and dodge. But it's a cool game, and the story's cool enough that I'm going to go through it.
Is that on Game Pass?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, they have all of EA Play on there. So honestly, I've just been fucking around with a bunch of stuff. Like I've been playing different Gears games. I've put Outer Worlds on there, which I'm really excited to play because I love Fallout 70, not Fallout 76, Fallout New Vegas, and that's the same developer. There's just like a lot of little stuff I'm messing around with Game Pass and gonna jump into. But honestly, it's just like I'm free from school, so I'm just gonna start playing stuff like crazy.
Dude, I fucking love Game Pass. Like I think
fantastic.
Getting an Xbox Series S was so worth it just to have Game Pass. It's been amazing so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going back to old Halos, going back to like everything I did. I played all through Halo 5 during Thanksgiving break, and that was like, oh, this game's better than people have said.
It's okay.
It's fun. I like it.
I love Halo 5. I play it every Thursday.
But you mean like the story, the
story
campaign.
Is whatever.
It's okay.
But the gameplay is like really solid, and I kind of like that you can aim down sights.
The movement in Halo 5 is incredible.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
I totally was like skipping the story and be like, oh, this feels great, and it still felt like Halo. And the fact I was dying all the time, but you had people to revive you, I was like, cool, this is way easier and a lot more fun, honestly. So that's what I'm playing. It's been a bunch of fun stuff, and I'm kind of just excited I want to try out Cyberpunk, but I'm not doing that until I have a new console, a better computer, and that game is patched.
Yeah, I hear the 1X version is actually pretty decent.
Okay.
But if you know you're going to upgrade anyway, you might as well hold off.
Yeah, the PS5 version I heard runs really well and runs at like 60 at least, so I'm going to try that. Or
60 adjacent. Yeah,
that's fine with me. Anything above 50, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that about does it then. Thanks, Michael. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us this week.
Thank you for having me on again. This is a ton of fun. I love talking about games.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me at PDYX most places.
Hey, I'm on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Michael? Where can people find you online?
On Twitter, I am Eelvac, EELVAC.
Very good. Very good. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook, and we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. Quick reminder, you can always join our Discord, which is really just every day is the best day yet for the Discord. So join the Discord. It's a great place.
We got emojis now.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Matt recently upgraded the Discord server, so we've got tons of emojis and lots of fun stuff going on. If you want a Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics emoji in a Discord server, you got to join the Switch Headz Discord. And then also join our Facebook group. We've got lots of discussion in there as well, and that's also a very active community. We'd love to have you in both of those. Other than that, folks, thank you for listening to this episode. I feel like this was a pretty fuck Nintendo light episode. I think Nintendo didn't do too much bad shit this week, which is fortunate for us. So that's nice. And it was nice to talk about the Game Awards with you. And again, thank you to everybody who was able to make it out to our watching party. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a great episode for you next week. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So until then, remember, please be safe out there. Continue to wash your hands. Continue to wear a mask. We're at the worst the pandemic has ever been, so don't be an idiot and try to keep those around you safe as well as yourself. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.